Hello. Okay, this is my first YouTube live stream ever. I also realized I should probably shut this cupboard. But hello, everybody. It took me a second to figure out how to start the live. Yeah, this is new. This is new for me, but I'm very, very excited to be diving into it. A lot of this is going to be a screen share today. And I got a little bit of introductory information to start off with. So let's just go ahead and let's dive into that first and foremost. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. That is my reminder to actually start the YouTube live. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm really pumped to be here. This is so good. I'm really really excited about doing this YouTube live. I'm probably going to start doing more YouTube lives too for those of you who are watching this stream right now. Also, for those of you who are watching this stream right now, one thing, if you're watching it on the page on my website, you are welcome to watch it there. If you do want to do any chatting or anything like that, you're going to want to actually click into the video on my webpage. So let me actually go ahead and I'll show you what I mean. Let me go ahead and, well, you'll just click the button below the video on my webpage and you're just going to want to click on watch on YouTube. And then you will be brought to the YouTube page and you'll be able to comment, chat, all of that. So let's go ahead and get started. So as I said, we're going to be talking today a lot about how to build a second brain in Notion for your business. And I want to start off by kind of talking a little bit about why this is something that I think is so important for so many of us to have. So, first and foremost, hello. For those of you who don't know me very well, my name's Ellen. I am primarily a burnout and stress management coach. You may very well know me from my YouTube channel. Maybe you found me through my Notion videos on YouTube, but I've never actually dove into per se why it is I love Notion so much, especially as a burnout coach. I really found Notion because I was looking for an alternative for myself as a means to stay organized, to wrangle all of the chaos, all of the moving pieces in my life. Because I have been, my business is a side hustle. I have all sorts of stuff I have to keep track of in my day job. I was really, really looking for a way and a system that would help me wrangle all of the chaos in my life. I also was really struggling to find a solution for my clients. I would have clients who came in and they were super, super overwhelmed as well, and I wanted to have a place and a application that I could direct them to that I felt like would serve that purpose, that would help calm all the chaos, help them organize, help them wrangle all the sticky notes and the random pieces of paper. And I had tried at that point so many productivity apps. And when I found Notion, it was the first application I'd found that really felt like it was going to fix this issue, not just for me, but for my clients. That is really how, as a burnout coach, this became part of my business. Is I personally feel like this is the system that I have found that helps me to overcome overwhelm with all of the different moving pieces and organize all of the different parts of my business and my life. That is why I love Notion so much. So, before we start, one thing I want to just let you guys know, especially if you aren't going to be here until the end, if you ever need more support from me, one thing I really wanted to announce today is that I am actually moving into the online course space. So if you love what you're seeing today, if you want to dive in more, I'm going to be creating Notion online courses. I'm probably going to be creating a Second Brain online course. And a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today is going to be put into those courses on a deeper level. So if you want to learn more about that, to sign up for the waitlist, to be notified when those courses go live. I'm going to be doing some pre-sales, some founder pricing. So if that's something you want, head to coachellen.com/courses, drop your email so I can let you know. But I just want to drop that from the beginning in case you can't stay for this whole time. Additionally, one more thing I will say too, if you cannot stay for the whole time, there will be I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. Actually, there's going to be a template that I'm going to be sending out of everything that we're going to be building today, as well as kind of some follow-up information. So just know that that'll be sent out. And I'm also going to put the links below the description of the YouTube video once I'm done with the live. Okay. So everything that we build today, I'll be showing you how to build it. And I'll also be sharing a template with you if that is something you would rather have. Okay. So let's go ahead and go back into the slide. So one of the first things I want to touch on here, especially because I'm coming at this from a lens of being a burnout coach, right? So one of the biggest things I always tell people, and I think is really important to know about burnout, is that burnout does not mean that you are weak. A lot of people, sometimes their pride gets in the way when it comes to overcoming burnout. They think, "Oh, this means I just can't hack it. I'm not capable of being a success or whatever in this space." And that is super, super not true. What burnout means is that the conditions and demands of your life exceed the capacity you have to handle them. It means there's not enough time. It means there's not enough resources. It means there's not enough support. And it very well might mean that there's not enough systems. You don't have enough systems to support everything that you have going on in your life. And that is really where, again, Notion comes in, and where this idea of building a second brain comes in is by giving yourself those systems that you are otherwise lacking. Again, that's why I, as a burnout coach, got into Notion in the first place, is as a means to fix this. So in our business, what we need to create more sustainability for ourselves. And when I say sustainability, I'm not talking environment, I'm talking about your ability to maintain, things at a consistent level. When we need sustainability in our business from a mindset perspective, from a schedule perspective, we need sustainability in our offers in terms of how much we're taking on, whether it's clients or, the amount of different types of offers we have, whether it's launching. We need sustainability in our marketing. We need sustainability on our self care, but we also need sustainability in our systems. And the systems piece is really what I'm going to be talking about today. This is really one of the core foundational things I think as business owners we need is a system like we're going to talk about today, whether you call it a second brain or a life OS. We need that to be able to create that sustainability, be able to maintain those levels of productivity and consistency in our business, and to just not like lose our minds, lose our sanity as business owners. And I do personally think that it should be in this order. We got to start with our mindset. We've got to figure out what a sustainable schedule looks like for us. We've got to move on to sustainable offers. We've got to figure out what sustainable marketing strategies are. And then the systems are ultimately going to be the thing that help us wrangle all of those pieces, help us keep our mindset in check, help us make sure that we are, staying sustainable in our schedule, help us make sure that we can organize all of the different pieces of our offers and our marketing. That is really where this notion of a second brain comes into play. And that is really a big reason why I think it's so important that we build these systems. Now, I would recommend doing all of these pieces first. I'm again actually going to be creating an online course called Burnout Proof Business that walks you through how to do all of these things. But then the systems help wrangle the chaos. So, one of the first things that I want to touch on before we dive into the actual building is the what not to do. What I see a lot of people do wrong when it comes to building their second brain, building their life operating system. And the things I see a lot of people do wrong are, first and foremost, they have no idea what it is that they want to create. They just know they want to build a life OS. They feel like they need to build a life OS, but they have no idea what it is they want to create. They have no idea what their business needs. They have no idea, how they want to organize tasks or projects. So they just come in and they're like, "Yes, I want this," but they don't have any clue for how. And I'm going to give you a way to kind of start that process. But they also, I find, they get up too caught up in what a completed second brain looks like, and that theirs doesn't look like that. Let me actually show you what I mean. If I were to, let me go ahead and I'm going to pull up Notion. One of the big things I heard one of my clients previously is they would see my Notion second brain every single time they would go into my business, like second brain, they would see it and they're like, "When do I get to the point where it looks like this?" And the fact of the matter is, you don't get to this immediately. This is me using Notion for years. This is me adding the different things that I felt like I needed to my second brain over the course of years. Like we go into my content creation hub and my content calendar. This is because I use this on an active basis and I have been using it for years. So I think it's really important for us to remember that we are not going to have this fully fleshed out, super organized, filled up second brain from the get go. We have to remember that. So don't get caught up in what somebody's completed second brain looks like. Focus on the basics for yours. And then lastly, they feel like their second brain has to be perfect and complete before they start using it. That is also not true. And that's something that's going to keep you stuck when it comes to Notion and when it comes to building your second brain. Figure out what the fundamentals are, figure out what the things are that you need to just get started, just get started and organize from the get go, and focus on those before you add all of these kind of extra superfluous things in. Okay. And that is what we're going to be building today, is the things that, from my experience, from the clients that I've worked with, are the things that are crucial for a second, or for a second brain for a business to have, not the things that are kind of the excess. So these are some of what not to do. So when it comes to getting started, what I would recommend first step, and this is kind of some of for those of you who signed up for this webinar ahead of time, for this masterclass ahead of time, you got some emails from me of some things that I recommended you do. And one of them is to look for inspiration of what you want to create. I love how one of my images decided not to load. Whatever, we're rolling with it. That's what happens when it's live. But you want to look for inspiration of what you want to create, whether that might mean going on Google and Googling Notion Second Brain to capture photos, whether that might mean searching YouTube for second brain videos or exploring Notion creators to get some inspiration for to start informing what you want your second brain to look like. That is a big way I started building my systems is by going out and looking at inspiration. Oh, I like what this person did. I want to do that too. Oh, I really like how they organize their dashboard here. I want to do that too. This is a great way to get started. And we're not necessarily going to be doing that today. But once we go through and build everything today, this is where I would recommend going from there. If you feel like your second brain is missing anything, what are other creators doing that you're really liking? And can you build that into your second brain? Because we are starting with the basics today. We are starting with the fundamentals. We can't build like this entire thing that I showed a second ago. We can't build the entirety of my Coach Ellen workspace in an hour and a half. But what I'm giving you is the fundamentals to get started, the foundations to get started. And then as you find more things that you want from other creators, whatever it might be, you can add that later. Remember, it doesn't have to be complete to start. So then the next thing that I recommend doing to get started is lay things out in your Notion. I actually had a client over the summer who did this and I thought it was so brilliant. I'm kind of giving you some examples of what she did, but to get all of her thoughts out of her head and her ideas organized for how she wanted to structure her second brain, she just started roughing out the layout of her second brain using just text blocks like you can see here. So she doesn't actually have like the breadcrumb. She doesn't actually have the weather widget. She doesn't actually have a menu of quick links, but she laid out roughly what she wanted it to look like. And then she also built a project. This is another great way to start using your second brain. She built a project with just a brain dump of all of the things that she eventually wanted to do in her second brain. This is honestly something I think everybody should do when they're getting started in Notion, when they're getting started in their second brain. Have the aspirations, figure out all of the different things you eventually want your second brain to look like, but we have to constantly keep in our head and remind ourselves it's not going to look like that from day one. That is okay. It's probably going to overwhelm the hell out of you if it looks like that from day one. So keep this in mind. This is a great kind of jumping off point after you gather that inspiration, after you get a feel for what you want your second brain to look like, then start to lay things out and start to rough things out. Okay. Every time I'm playing around in Notion, that's usually where it starts for me is I have a rough picture of what I want things to look like. And again, that might change over time, but that's the beauty of Notion. Maybe you don't like your layout anymore and you want to rejig things, add different widgets, reorganize things in a different way. That's the beauty of Notion is that you can do that. But I think some people get so stuck on the fact that it is a blank page when you start that they kind of let that stuckness keep them from actually doing anything in Notion. And that's where kind of what we're going to do today is going to really come in handy. Another tip that I have to get started, and then don't worry, I've only got a couple more of these, and then we're going to dive in, is really if you don't want to just use somebody else's template, rebuild it. This was actually one of the things that I feel like helped me learn Notion so well is because I would go on YouTube and yeah, I could download somebody's template, but I wanted to learn how to use Notion. I wanted to get better at using the application in and of itself. So what I would do is you can kind of see I have written here, I would watch either build with me videos or I would watch walkthrough videos and I would build what I saw. So those are your best friend when it comes to getting to know Notion, as opposed to just using a template and trying to figure out how the hell the template works. Take the thing that you see on YouTube, take the thing that you see in like somebody's like screenshot of their Notion database and try to see if you can recreate it. Now, that might be something again I would recommend start with build with me's and then go to rebuilding the walkthroughs that you see after you get a little bit more comfortable with Notion. But that is a great way to learn Notion because frankly, you learn Notion by using Notion. I think that's something a lot of people don't necessarily think about is that you learn Notion by building Notion or using Notion. So if you build something, you're going to be vastly more familiar with the app than if you just download the template and use the template. And I'm saying that as somebody who sells Notion templates. I completely understand that sometimes it's vastly more convenient to just download a Notion template. But if you really want to use the app, if you really want to get to know the app, be able to customize it in the way that it's like the perfect system for you, at some point you are going to have to kind of get in the nitty gritty and really understand how to use it. The problem with relying on templates too is ultimately that the template might end up being way too complex for your needs, and it might actually add to the confusion and overwhelm of using your Notion system. For example, let me show you with one of the first CRMs I downloaded look like. This is a screenshot of the CRM. I'm a little too zoomed in. Let me zoom out. In this CRM, you can kind of see here, this CRM has so many properties. I think I only added these two at the top here. There are so many freaking properties going on here. It's kind of overwhelming to look at. And frankly, it might be very, very unnecessary for your needs. Again, a CRM, if you're not sure what I'm referring to, it's called a customer relationship management system. So, CRM system is a customer or client relationship management system. And it's basically a way to keep track of the different clients that you are working with or the different leads or prospects that are coming into your business. This was one of the first ones I downloaded, and it's chaotic to look at. You do not need a CRM that's this complex. They also had all of these different properties for the different status you could set for your CRM. My CRM that I'm going to show you how to build literally has lead, prospect, one. There's three statuses. Like, simplification is your friend when you're starting. And this can also be the problem with relying on templates. It might not be as simple as you need it to be. It's pretty, it's aesthetic, but it might not be simple enough. And therefore, the functionality of it might be lost on you because you might get it overwhelmed by all the clutter. You know what I mean? So, this is also the problem with relying on templates. So, I would say when to use templates in Notion is when you're fairly familiar already with how to use the application so you can customize it to your needs, or when the template comes with directions for how to customize it. I've actually started with my ultimate Notion template, like my like this guy template shared earlier, not just like the business part, but like all of it, like the dashboards, management, all that jazz. That guy costs a pretty penny, but it costs a pretty penny because A, it's massive, and B, because it actually comes with a course to teach you how to use it. If you purchased it previously, this is a new add on I added to the course. If you purchased it previously and you don't have access to the course, comment below, drop it in the chat, shoot me an email, whatever, and I will give you access to the course because that is something I added in as I realized it wasn't serving people to give them this template and then not show them how to use it. So now it comes with a course to show you how to use it. So those are the times I would recommend using Notion templates to help you keep from getting overwhelmed and lost in the confusion of the functionality of how to use that template. So I hope that makes sense. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to dive into the beginning steps, the beginning systems you need to get started with a second brain, a Life OS, and Notion. And again, this is focused on business. So even if you aren't somebody who has a business, maybe you have a side hustle, these are focused on the business systems that you need inside of Notion. So if you don't have a business, kind of take what you will in terms of what you feel like is applicable to you. And I'll kind of show you some ways in which I feel like some of these things might be applicable outside of a business aspect. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. And I'm going to actually literally just do this inside of the browser. And I'm going to go first and foremost, I'm going to create a new page and I'm just going to go ahead and do add page down here. And we'll just call this the second brain example. Now, the very first thing that you can do in Notion to to kind of start customizing this second brain is to start adding some little aesthetic things. And I always like to start my pages by doing that. I'm also pulling up something in another part of my screen so I can really keep tabs on what we're where we're going and what we're building. And actually, sorry, I forgot to do that. Let me show you what we are going to be building before we get started so you can have a little bit of an idea of where we are going. Okay, so this is the business owner second brain system that we're going to be building, and some of these we aren't going to build. I'm just going to share them with you after the fact. I'm going to put those links in the description below, and for those of you who are registered, in the follow-up emails. So I will put all of this, the links to these guys in there. And actually, where we're going to be starting here is we're going to be starting by building all of the databases, but this is a little bit of where we're going. So we've got kind of this to-do list on the main page. We've got a little bit of aesthetics. If I close the menu here, you can kind of see you got my menu over here. You got the image over here. I actually hate how this looks on the browser version. So let me stop my share and I'm going to share the actual app because the browser version Driving me nuts. I never use Notion on the browser, so perhaps that's why it's driving me nuts. See, this looks better. Like the spacing looks better. It doesn't look so zoomed in. But this is where we are going today. So I'm going to show you how to build these things that are highlighted in yellow here. And I'm not going to necessarily show you how to build these other guys, but there will be descriptions or there'll be links in the description below and in follow-up emails that I'll send after this to show you how to build these or to add these to your second brain. Okay. So this is where we're going. We've got our databases. So we've got projects, notes, tasks, databases. We've got a business roadmap so you can keep track of the different goals that you're working on and what quarter those goals are due. You've got a content creation hub where you can keep track of all of the content you're putting out in your business. And we've got a quick capture page to keep track of those kind of little thoughts that come up over the course of the day. Oh, I forgot. We've got a client CRM, and this is kind of my simplified CRM. We've also got a knowledge hub, which is a great place to kind of capture the things that you are currently reading or to capture articles that you want to read in the future. This is something I use a lot. And then I've got an ideal week planner. And I'm going to show you how to build all of these things in the span of the next approximately hour. Okay. So there might be some times. Yes, Zeta, you are going to get a recording of this. Absolutely. And again, for anybody who wants this, but maybe you fall behind in building it, or maybe you know you just aren't going to have time to build it and you just want the template. Again, I will be sending out the link after we're done for how to access this template. Okay. So if you do just want the template, if you're fairly familiar with Notion, you don't need to know how to build, then you can go ahead and download the template when I send it out after the fact. Okay. But yes, thank you. Thank you for asking that, Zeta. We are going to get a recording of this. It's going to be saved on YouTube and I'm going to send out the recording after the fact. All right. So with that, let's get started on this baby. So I personally like first and foremost to go in and I like to change the font. I'm a fan of the serif font. If you want the sans serif, just keep it on the default. And then there's also the mono font. I never use the mono font, but these are the different fonts that you can use. And then generally speaking, I tend to toggle over to full width, but I actually haven't been as much lately. So let's just go ahead and add an icon for my homepage. I usually use the house icon. Just type in house, and then I'm going to probably click the black one. And then you can add whatever cover photo you want. I really like kind of adding cover photos, especially recently. I like having cover photos that really kind of convey the feeling that I'm going for. So if I want something kind of calming, I might add something like this at the top. I find the ocean to be very calming. So that's where we're going to go ahead and start. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to already start to lay things out before I start building some of the databases that we're going to need. So go ahead and click where it says empty page. Again, you can add templates in here. So you can add a template for literally everything that we're going to build today. But I find, again, templates sometimes can just have way more than you need them. So we're going to build it on our own, and we're going to keep it simple. We're going to keep it very simple with very few properties so that it isn't overwhelming to use. Again, that's the whole point of this. So go ahead and click where it says empty page, and now we can start adding things to this. So I'm going to go ahead and start immediately by adding a breadcrumb. So I use the slash menu a lot in Notion. So I'm going to do, every time I'm going to do a new command, it starts with forward slash, and then I type in whatever I'm looking for. So in this case, I want a breadcrumb. And this breadcrumb might not be particularly interesting right now, but eventually, as you start to embed this page deeper inside of your Notion, the breadcrumb shows where it's located. So that's kind of why that breadcrumb is there. Let's go ahead and drag this guy back out. So you sometimes I have a lot of clients who like to have that breadcrumb so they can just see where something is located. And then I'm going to go ahead and do /3 call, because what this does is it automatically creates 3 perfectly spaced out columns inside of your Notion system. Then the cool thing that I actually didn't realize Notion could do this for a really long time. I thought if I did this 3 column, that it would be here. I'm going to go ahead and show you column 1, column 2, column 3. I thought I was stuck with my columns being this narrow, but actually you can kind of hover your cursor out to the outside and you'll see this little thing where you can then expand these and you can make these columns as wide as you want. So to build the second brain page that I have, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add an image here. And let's go ahead and add something that's kind of like desk space related or something like that. And I'm personally looking for a vertical image. I find that a lot of the images on Unsplash on Notion are not vertical and it really irritates me. So you might actually want to do, and I actually think I am going to do this, is I'm just going to copy an image from the internet. See, like it's super easy now for me to find. If I'm on Google looking for images, it's super easy for me to find a vertical image. And that's the image that I want. That's the image that I have in the other second brain thing. So just find an image, put an image there. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't even matter if it's vertical, frankly. I'm just being, I guess, a little OCD about my aesthetics. We're going to go ahead and leave this space in the middle empty for now because we're going to add something there later. And then over here, where it says column 3, I'm going to go ahead and do / call out. And the call out is something I really, really like to do to house my menu. I think it looks really nice. And I like to do the call out with a default background, so just with a gray background. And then I like to change this little icon right here. You can just click on that little icon. I like to change it to a bookmark. And you can, with these icons, you can change them to emojis. And this goes for any icon in Notion. You can change them to an emoji. I don't really like the emojis. You can change them to legit icons, and these icons have some predefined colors that you can use, or you can upload custom icons. We're not going to be doing the upload of custom icons today. We're just going to be sticking with the Notion icons. And I'm going to go ahead and call this menu. What this is going to end up being is like some quick links for how to access things easily inside of your Notion. And I do generally recommend using that. I'm also going to go ahead and resize this and make this a little skinnier so that it's not taking up too much space. And again, we're just going to leave this middle column alone for now. So inside of this call out, go ahead and make a line down, go ahead and click enter. And then you're going to go ahead and do / page. What this does is it's going to create a new page, and that page is going to be housed. Oh, why did it jump out of my call out? If yours jumped out of your call out, you just have to click next to it and drag it back inside of the call out box. That's where we want it to be located. But this just creates a new page in here. And what we're going to go ahead and do, if we click back into that page, and again, I'm going to change my font. We're going to call this the databases page. This is generally how I like to create databases inside of my Notion systems. And for those of you who aren't aware, your databases are basically the way in which Notion organizes the information inside of your Notion system. Think of it like an Excel spreadsheet, but it's an Excel spreadsheet that you can pull information from no matter where you are inside of your Notion system. So like for example, the task manager here, this is a database. If I were to go inside of my quick capture and look at my notes, this is a database. This content ideas down here is a database. It is basically how Notion organizes all of the information inside of your Notion system is in databases. And when I'm building a new Notion setup, I like to just put all of my databases on one page. So inside of that databases page, and let's go ahead and give this like a little gritty looking icon. Your icons really don't matter. I just find that it just looks nicer. And a lot of us use Notion because it's aesthetic as well as functional. So guilty as charged. So I like to use this database page as a place where I create and house all of my templates, or excuse me, all of my databases. So we're going to go ahead and create multiple different databases in here. And the first one we're going to go ahead and create is going to be a tasks database. So once again, go ahead and do / page. That page guy right at the top. And then what we're going to do here is we want to see how it says empty page, start writing with AI, and then it says add new. Add new, when you get down here, these are all of the different types of databases you can create. So I'm kind of giving a little bit of like Notion how to as we're building here. But these are the different types of Notion databases you can create. And for the tasks database, I generally like to start with a table. So we're going to click table. And then you're going to go ahead and click new database. And I'm going to call this, you can just call this tasks or all tasks. For the sake of my example, because I have so many databases in my Notion system, I'm going to call this SB tasks for second brain tasks. And I'm going to add a little check mark next to it as an icon here. So this is going to be our tasks database. And with a task database, you really do not need a whole heck of a lot of properties. You can keep this very, very, very simple. So you need probably, and I'm going to go ahead and delete this tags property here because generally speaking, I don't use that too much. You need to name the task. And then what I like to do is I like to use a checkbox to check off the task. So you're going to go ahead and click on this little plus sign right next to where it says name. Go down to checkbox. And then I like to call this done ? then once you've added that, just click enter. And now you have a checkbox property. So if you were to create a new task, you can check that task off when you're done with it. Now, I like to, with this, I try to make these as small as possible. And actually, with the checkbox, you don't really need to see the name of the property. So you could decrease the size of this all the way down to where you just see the text box. But that's the first property we're going to create here is the ability to check off a task. The next property we're going to create here is obviously you're going to probably have to keep track of the date when something might be done or due or whatever. So let's go ahead and make a date property. So once again, actually just to show you that a little bit more clearly, I just clicked the plus sign next to the name, and then I clicked date out of this list of types right under status here. And I'm just going to leave it as date. And honestly, at this point, that is literally all you really need to run your database, to run your tasks at this point in time. So we're just going to stop there. We're going to add some other things as we go. But one final thing I might recommend, and again, this is not necessary, but it's just for aesthetics. Go ahead and click next to the new button here. Click that down arrow and then do new template. And we're going to just call this new task. And then add an icon to this new task. And you're going to see why in just a second. So I'll maybe add like a check mark here. I'll make it a black check mark. So now I have this template here. And if I go back into that new menu, then I can say set as default. And then you just want to say for all views. If you do this, what this does is anytime you create a new task in this template, it adds that little check mark to it. So you can kind of see the difference between the one I created on my own and the one that I created with the template. It just adds that little check mark to the front. So that's a little aesthetic thing that you can easily do inside of Notion. Okay, so I'm going to clear the two tasks that I have, but now we have a tasks database. Actually, I'm going to call it tasks. I'm going to put the SB over here. But that's one database we're going to create. Let's go ahead and create another database. So we're just going to click below our tasks database, do /page again. Now I'm going to create a notes database. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick list out of my different options here because I generally speaking like to have my notes in a list form, not necessarily in a like a table form. So now we'll go new database. And let's call this notes. And again, you can just call it all notes or notes. I'm going to call it notes SB so I can keep track of what database this is. This is just going to become important a little bit later. I'm going to remove the example pages that are here. And again, in Notion, if you didn't know this, you can actually click outside of the thing you're trying to select and drag, and it'll select everything that you've dragged over. I didn't know that for a really long time in Notion. It saves a lot of time. But then I'm just going to delete them because I don't need them. And I'm going to add an icon to this database as well. So we're just going to do like a note. Oh, I guess we should do like maybe like a paper. I don't like any of these. Write. Let's do writing. We'll do this guy. Cool. So again, icons aren't necessary, but they're fun. And I don't need anything else really in here. Notes are just notes. I might connect those notes to some different things eventually, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Okay, I'm also going to go back to my database page and I'm going to create another database. And this is going to be a projects database. What do I want this one to like style wise to look like? I'm just going to do a table for this one. So we'll just do a table, do new database once again, and let's just call this projects. And then the icon for this one with projects, I kind of like to do like either like a star or like a clipboard. If I can spell clipboard. Oh, actually, I really like the paperclip. We're going to do a paperclip. And then once again, I'm going to delete all of the guys that are here because I don't want them. And then the different properties that I'm going to add here, I'm really going to only add 2 properties to this one as well. I'm going to delete this tag property because I don't want it. And then what I'm going to go ahead and add is I'm going to add a status property. And I'm not even going to rename it. I'm just going to leave it as is. So that'll give us 3 different statuses that we can indicate about this project that we're talking about here. And I'm going to do a date property. So again, for each of those properties, I just go up to the little plus sign right here, click it, and then click the type of property that I want. I'm not going to necessarily take the time in this masterclass today to go through what these different properties are, But if that's something that you're interested in hearing more about, drop a comment below, put it in the chat, and that's something I can do in the future, but we're just not going to get into it today. So then we'll go date, and I'm going to call this date target deadline. So now we can say the status of a project that we might be working on, as well as our target deadline for when we're shooting to finish said project. So I like to put the status at the beginning. So I'm just going to click on it and drag it over to the beginning. And then we're done with the projects database for now as well. So that's all the databases we're going to make. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to click all the way back to the second brain, the homepage for the second brain back at the beginning. And now what we can start to do is we can start to build a little bit more of this homepage. Okay. So what we're going to do in this middle column, the one that we skipped originally, is I'm going to go ahead and I am going to link this to my task management database. So I can see the tasks that I have coming up right from the beginning. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to delete where it says column 2. And now this is a new function that we haven't used yet. I'm going to use / linked view of database. And this is exactly how it sounds. It is going to create a linked view on this page to a database that's located elsewhere. And don't worry, anything that you change here is also going to change in any other place that that database shows up inside of your Notion system. So I'm going to click linked view of database. And then what I want to do is I want to click the tasks database that I just made. This is why for me, I've named them SB. So I know that I am clicking on the right task database because you can see here, I have a lot of databases in my Notion system. So that helped me keep track. So I'm going to click tasks SB, click whatever you named your particular task database. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple different views for myself. The first view that I want to create a week view. And so what I want to do is I want to change it instead of being a table, I want to change it to a calendar. And so how we do that is we click these 3 dots here that are right next to the new button. And it's going to open up this little drop list. And then you're going to go down to where it says layout. And I want to click on calendar. And so this is now showing me, you can see it changed already. Why isn't it scrolling? Okay, there we go. You can see that it changed already to be this month view of a calendar. I don't want it to be a month view. I want it to be a week view. I find sometimes when I can see my task for a month, that's a lot. That's really overwhelming. So I like to only see it a week at a time, if not just a day at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and instead of where it says show calendar as month, let's change that to week. And now I can only see the upcoming week. This is actually showing into next week. So if I click today, then I can see the current week. So this is going to show me my current week. And what I'm also going to go ahead and do here, and this is really important, if you want your completed tasks to like go away off of your view, you're going to click filter, done, because this is our checkbox property so that we can indicate when a task is complete. And you want to show only the things that are unchecked. Let me show you what this does. So I'm going to actually clear this filter. So let's say I have some random task that is due today. So you can see that new task is showing up here. If I filter for things that are unchecked, then as soon as I click into this task, which actually I don't like that it's showing up as a center view. You see how it pops up as a center view? I don't really like that. So actually I want to show you how to change that really quickly. We once again go into this. Oops, I deleted my task. I didn't mean to do that. No, I deleted my task. Hold on, I got to recreate it. Okay, there we go. But this is showing up as a center view, and I don't really like that. So what I want to do is go back into this 3-dot menu, and then I want to go click into calendar. And see where it says open pages in. This is the different ways the pages are going to open when you click on them. Center peek is the one that we just saw. It pops up right in the middle of the screen. I personally really like side peek. I like being able to see the thing that I clicked on, but not necessarily navigate away from the other table or from the other page I was on. So now when I click on this, it's going to pop up over here, which is how I like it. Now watch what happens. When I check this done box, the task is going to disappear from this view. That's the beauty of filtering by something that is unchecked, is once you complete a task, it takes it off of your view, which we like. That helps keep us from feeling overwhelmed by all of the crap on our calendar, right? So that's why we want to add this property. And then that's probably all that I would add at this point. But what I am going to go ahead and do, just because I'm OCD, I guess, is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call this week. And then let's go ahead and let's create one more view here. Let's go ahead and create a view where we can see like just today's tasks or something like that. Actually, before I do that, I want to go ahead and do one more thing because I realize when we have our new task showing up here, oopsies, let's click today. When we have our new task here, we can't check it off from this view. And I don't really like that. That doesn't feel very functional. Can I tell this calendar to pull in stuff from my other calendars? So, Zeta, I assume that when you ask that question, you're asking, can I have it pull in stuff from my like Google Calendar? If that's what you're asking, go ahead and confirm for me in the chat box. If it is, yes, you can, but what you have to do is you have to set up a Zapier integration to pull those events in from your Google Calendar. This is only pulling in stuff that is from this particular database. But like for example, let me show you in my systems. Yeah, okay, cool. You did that is what you're talking about. But like for my systems here, where is second brain? I'm trying to find like some events in here. Yeah. So you see, this is a task for my task database. And what I have it set up to do is this is a task that was pulled in from Google. And it pulls in, sorry, I didn't mean to expand all these properties. It pulls in the time. And then what it does is it marks it as scheduled because I have my second brain set up to sort the scheduled tasks up to the top. So you can set that up, but you have to find like an outside platform to like connect like Zapier or something too. What I actually do, my workaround so that I can see my schedule, and this is kind of a teeny bit off topic, but you can see it. My workaround to see my schedule is I have a Google Calendar widget so that I can see the stuff that I have coming up in my like scheduled stuff for today. So like you can see I also have it stuff showing up for my schedule for tomorrow. So that's kind of a workaround that I have to pull Google Calendar into my second brain. But yes, you can pull stuff in from your Google Calendar if you want to. And I actually feel like this is a good way to do it because then it doesn't clog up my to-do list with other stuff. So I actually really have been enjoying the widget. But let's go ahead and make it so that you can actually check off tasks from this view. And how we're going to do that is we're going to once again go into this three dot menu here. This three dot menu is your friend when it comes to customizing things. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to properties and you see how it says zero shown? That's its way of saying, hey, you have properties, but I'm not displaying any of those properties on the screen. So what we want to do is we want to click this little eyeball next to the done box. And now you can see the done box is now popped up so we can check stuff off right from there. That's the beauty of being able to display that done box on the calendar. So, like I said, we're going to go ahead and create one more view. But what we're going to do for this view is it's going to be like our today's tasks. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a tab. I'm going to click tasks one more time. And then I'm just going to go to table. What I'm going to do in the table is I'm going to call it today's tasks. And we'll do like a star or something. And then this is kind of where you're going to go from here. You see how right now we don't really have any tasks in here, but it's displaying those two tasks I made up a second ago. Well, we can go ahead and filter by now. So we're going to go ahead and we'll filter by done unchecked. So the same thing that we did before. But we're also going to filter by our date. And if you want it to only show the stuff that is due today or maybe the stuff that's overdue. So what I usually do is I do on or before today. So I not only see today's task, but the stuff that I'm behind on. What you're going to do is you're going to do on or before. So start date is, and then where it says is relative today, you want to click that guy and go down to on or before. And then there's a little arrow next to this date field. You're going to click on that and then say today. This is a dynamic property. So what it does is you don't have to go in and reset the date every single time. It automatically updates on every new day. So now you can see I only can view the tasks that are today's tasks or before today's task. So if I change this to the 25th, it's still going to display it for me. But if I change it to the 27th, that task is going to go away because that task is not due on or before today. So this is generally how I like to set up these kinds of things, is just to have my tasks front and center on a main page inside of my Notion system so that I can see everything there. And I'm going to show you as we build some of these future tasks or future databases, how to connect those databases to this same task system so that you can see everything in one place. Again, this is the beauty of a second brain. So let's go ahead and let's keep going. So we've got our little main view here. So now what I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have us do is we're going to go ahead and add a projects view and a notes view down here so that we can also see the active projects and the active notes on this same page. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click below these guys. And once again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start by putting a divider here. So to do a divider, you just do 3 little lines. I like the aesthetics of dividers. If you don't, feel free to not include that. And then we're going to do forward slash two column. And similar to what we did above, it makes two evenly sized columns on this page here. So we've got column one here. We've got column two over here. And what I'm going to go ahead and have us do is we're going to put our active projects on this side, and we're going to put any active notes or maybe notes we've created this week on the right side. So how we're going to do that is, once again, we're going to use that linked view of database feature. So we're going to do forward slash linked view of database, which as soon as you type linked, that's the top one that's going to pop up. We're going to click that. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to click projects. So this is the projects guy that we just created. And it's going to automatically default to creating the table view that you made on the original page. So like if we went back to our databases, our projects database was a table view. So that's what it defaults to. And you can see this is really skinny. So I'm going to do what I did before, and I'm going to grab this little arrow and I'm going to drag it wider. And you can drag it full width if you want. It's kind of up to you. I don't know if I quite want this full width. I guess I'll leave it full width for now. Whatever. But what I actually want to show you how to do on this one is to create a slightly different view called a gallery view, which I personally really, really like for displaying like projects and stuff like this. So again, what we're going to go ahead and do here, first, I'm going to go ahead and click on the title, and I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to call it Active Projects. We'll go ahead and put like a star guy next to that. And then I'm going to go into the three dot menu once again, down to layout once again. And then I'm going to click gallery, and you can kind of already start to see we're doing some of the same things over and over again. And that's why I say all the time, the best way to get used to using Notion is to use Notion, to start building things in it, because then you really start to get to know the functionality of it. So now we're going to go ahead and click gallery. And now what this does is it displays our projects in this really, really cool kind of grid view. So let's say this is new project, and we'll leave this one as not started for now. You can see it kind of shows the project as a grid. And I'm going to actually give this guy nope, I don't want to get it. Oh, whatever. It has an icon now. I'm going to give it a cover because I want to show you some of the different ways you can display in this gallery view. Right now, it's not displaying anything because it is currently set. So I'm going to click this three dot menu. I'm going to go into layout once again, and I'm going to go down here to where it says card preview. This is what it's telling you here is what this picture is displaying. And right now, this picture is displaying the page content, but because there's nothing in the page, it's blank. So I generally like never use the page content feature. I just never want to look at all of my writing. I want to look like a pretty picture or like just a little box. So if we change this to page cover, it displays the page cover of that page. If we change it to none, it's just this little box. And I actually find sometimes if you want to create a more minimalist Notion, that this is actually a really good way to go. So we'll just have it do none. And then what we'll go ahead and do, go ahead and click this back arrow next to where it says layout. I also want to, similar to what I did up here with the tasks, I want to display some of our properties. So in this case, let's go ahead and I'm going to display the status, and I'm going to display the target deadline. Now, this one doesn't have a target deadline, so let me add one so that we can see what it looks like. Maybe the target deadline is November 30th. So now you can see the status of this project and the target deadline. Now, once you start adding a whole bunch of projects to your Notion databases and to your Second Brain and your Life OS, you're probably not going to want to see every single one of your projects. That's probably going to get really, really, really overwhelming, right? So what I would recommend doing is you can always go in and view all of your projects inside of the database. You could always do that. But what I actually would recommend for your homepage is only display the active projects. And how we can do that is similar to what we did up here. We can add a filter and filter by status. So go ahead and click status. And you want to only show the projects that are in progress. So we want to check that in progress guy there. And you can see the project that was displayed here, this guy that was displayed here, when we check in progress, it goes away because that is not an in progress project. It is a project that we have indicated that we haven't started. Now, if we start that project, so if I go into my databases, go into projects, and then change it to in progress, now if I go back to my homepage, it is going to be displayed. So that would be my recommendation. If you have like 80 bajillion projects happening in your business and in your world, don't display all of your projects, just show your active ones. The one other thing I will tell you here is you can see this box is kind of large. I generally don't like these boxes to end up displaying this big. So again, let's go into the three dot menu. Let's go into layout. And I would probably reduce the card size, which is basically how big this little box is going to display as. I would probably change it to small. That's my personal preference. If you want it to stay that big, you can. You can even make it bigger. You could make it large, which really actually isn't that much bigger than the medium, probably because of my screen size right now. It's not that much bigger, but I personally would probably make it small. So that is our active projects display on our homepage. So again, we can not only see our tasks, but we can see our active projects. And now what we're going to go ahead and do in column 2 is we're going to delete that text. We're going to once again do / linked database. And now I want to select my notes. And I'm just going to leave this in list view. Again, that's my preference for how to view notes. I also like to turn off the title. I don't really like it to say notes SB here. So what you can do is you just click the 3 dots next to that and say hide database title. And then I'm going to go ahead and rename this as like maybe this week's notes or something like that. The reason why I would recommend just having it be this week's notes is if you're somebody who does a lot of note taking, you're probably, again, similar to the projects, not going to want all of your notes to display all on this same view. So for this one, what we're going to go ahead and do is I want to filter by their created date. But we didn't actually add that property. If you remember when we created the notes database a second ago, like we'll go ahead and click back in there. I didn't give these any properties. The only property it has is this tag property just because I didn't delete it. But actually, it did, you can see right here, it did already create a created date. This is a property as well. It created a created time. And that's actually what I'm going to use to sort these notes. So this is something it must have created by default. I forgot that it creates this by default for notes databases. So that actually works to our favor. We don't have to add any properties. So let's go ahead and go back to our home page. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to filter by created. And again, this is the created time. This is the time that this note was created. So click on that. And then what we want to do, the created time is, and once again, I'm going to go ahead and say, is relative to today, this week. And what that's going to do is it's going to show you any notes that were created over the span of this week. We don't have any notes right now, but that's how it would work. So any notes that you'd created 10 days ago, these would not show up in this view. It would only show you the notes that are created this week. And again, you could go in here and change it and say this day, this month, this year, whatever works for your personal workflow and your personal systems, you can change this to. But I'm going to go ahead and keep it this week. So now we have got a homepage in our Notion system that not only has tasks, notes, and projects, but it displays all of those on a nice little homepage dashboard for us. So then the last thing I'm going to go ahead and do, and this will kind of become clear for why I think this is a really important thing, is I'm going to have us create 2 more databases. We're going to create, well, we're going to end up creating more databases than that, but we're also going to create an areas database. And I'm going to go ahead and put that database down here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a space and let's do a call out. So / call, just like we've done for all of the other properties here. Click call out. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add like a, I don't know, I'm way overusing the star, but whatever. I like the star. I'm going to go ahead and say like business areas or something like that. And then I'm going to create a database down here that is a gallery database. And the whole idea behind this, creating these different business areas, is it allows you to sort your tasks, your projects, your notes, the information inside of your second brain by the various different sub aspects of your business. So maybe you want to sort things by offer, or maybe you want to separate your marketing tasks from everything else. That is the idea behind creating these business areas. So all we're going to do inside of here is very kind of similar to what we've done in some of these other places. We're going to do / page. Actually, in this case, we're not going to do page. We're going to go ahead and do / let's do a gallery. So you can see I can just click a gallery view straight from this list. But when I click this, it creates what is called an inline gallery, meaning that this gallery isn't a page in and of itself. It is just something that is embedded into this home page here. So I'm going to go ahead and click new database. And I'm going to call this like areas or something like that. You can call it business areas. You can call this, I don't know. I had one client who called them her income producing activities or her IPAs. I'm going to go ahead and select these 3 guys and delete them. I'm going to hide the database title, and I'm going to just call this biz areas. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add, I'm going to actually probably just delete the properties that I don't need here. So I really just need the name. I really don't need this created property. So I'm just going to click the arrow next to it and go delete. And I'm going to delete this tag property because I really don't need that either. And it will add other properties to this in just a second. But what this is going to end up being is like, say you wanted to keep track of all of the marketing activities inside of your business. And actually, let's do the same thing here and let's make it so that it's just a little box and not showing you the page content. So all I did there once again is 3-dot menu, layout, and I'm going to card preview and I'm clicking none. So that'll show me all of my marketing activities. And maybe I want like this to be all of like my one-on-one coaching activities or whatever it is for your business. You can separate out the different business areas here. You could also separate this out by personal versus business activities. That's perfectly fine too. Yeah, and anybody, if you do need to hop off, that is why this is being recorded. That's why I'm live streaming on YouTube. I know this is kind of a long one today, but there will be a recording. So if you have to hop off, feel free. If there's anything that you want to make sure that I'm addressing or that you have questions about before you hop off, drop them in the chat, and I'm happy to try to answer those questions and work that in. Okay. But yeah, if you have to hop off, no worries. All right, so we have got everything for our homepage now. Now, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to start building some of the other parts of this menu. But you can see right now, we literally have everything that we need to do tasks, projects, notes, business areas, etc. Actually, before we create the rest of this menu, though, what I know is inevitably going to happen is we're going to want to link up all of these different databases that we've already created, right? So what I want to go ahead and show you how to do is how to create relations, which is basically Notion's way of saying we are going to connect two databases together so that they can talk to each other. So for example, let's like look at this project here. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this inside of our templates. And there's a reason for this. So go ahead and follow along with me. Click the down arrow and we're in projects down here. Click the down arrow next to new. And I want you to click new template. And we are going to go ahead and say new project template. And we'll go ahead and do like a clipboard or the paperclip. I liked the paperclip before. We'll do the paperclip once again. And now what I want to do is I want to set up a template wherein whenever I create a new project, it is automatically going to pull in any notes, any tasks, etc., that are related to that project. I also want it to associate this project with a larger area, so like maybe marketing or one-on-one coaching. So I'm going to create relations to those different databases, and then I'm going to build a template that it can use to pull in those tasks. So let me show you what I mean by that. And actually, let me show you what I mean by that inside of like my Notion systems. So I have this task today. I actually did this morning, so I could probably cut this off, but this task is associated with a project called Complete Digital Course Academy. If I click into Digital Course Academy, which is a project, you can see inside of this project, I can see the notes that are associated with this project, as well as all the tasks that are associated with this project. This is what we are going to build inside of this template. So let's go ahead and I'm going to pop back over to this page. So how we're going to do this is we're going to go up here and we're going to click add a property. And we're going to scroll down to where it says relation. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to, let's start with the areas relation. So go ahead and click areas in your link to database. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to leave this as area. And actually, I'm just going to call this area. And then you also want to go ahead and toggle on where it says show on areas. And what this does is it displays the area on the project, and it's also going to display the related projects on the area as well. So again, let me show you what I mean. If I go into here, this not only shows Digital Course Academy, it shows the different actions and tasks that are associated with Digital Course Academy. But if I click into those tasks, like I said before, it displays the project that this task is associated with. So it works both ways. It displays it on the task and it displays the task on the project. That's what it means when you toggle this guy to show on areas. It displays it in both places. And generally speaking, you want that. So we're going to name this area, and I'm going to go ahead and call this just projects. And then you're going to say add relation. I also am going to go ahead and click on this guy and I'm going to hide it just because generally you don't want this area to be too cluttered with a whole bunch of properties. It can get kind of overwhelming. So then when you click hide one property, the area property is going to just disappear. Um, let's also go ahead and we're going to add another relation and we're going to relate this to the notes database. So go ahead and we'll call this notes. We'll toggle on show on notes and we'll call this project, add relation. And then we'll do it one more time for tasks. So add property, relation, tasks, toggle on, show on tasks, call this project. So now this project database is linked not only to the areas database, but to the notes and to the task database. So we can pull everything in all together. Like I did on the other ones, I'm going to go ahead and hide these. And you can kind of see this is a really great example why you want to hide these because look at when I expand all my 80 bajillion properties here. Look at, oh, wait, no, that was a bad example. If we go to Digital Course Academy, if I expand my 80 bajillion properties here, I have all of these tasks that are associated with this. We don't want those showing up in our main view. It's going to look like chaos. Like this looks like chaos when I expand it, which is why all of these are hidden. So now inside of this, we're going to be able to hide all of those properties. And now what we can go ahead and do is, let's go ahead and click out of this. When we go to this templates database, so again, click the down arrow next to new. If we then go set as default and then click for all views, what this does is anytime oh wait, I didn't finish the template. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. I have to build the template before I can apply the template. I'm sorry. Forget about what I just said for the last 2 seconds. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to kind of build this part of the page so that we can see the different stuff that's associated with that project. All right, so let's go ahead and do / to column. And what we're going to go ahead and do, and I'm going to make this full screen so I can really see what it looks like. I'm going to start by making this a little bit wider. And I'm going to go ahead and here I'm going to go / H3. That just makes it header 3. I'm going to call this all tasks. And then I'm going to add a divider. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 dashes. And it adds a divider. So all you have to do is 1, 2, 3 dashes. And it adds that little divider there. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to do / linked view of database. So we've kind of already used this one. Now, before we get too far into this, if you are not within the project template, this is really important that you do this inside of the template. Otherwise, it doesn't work as efficiently. So if you're not inside of the project template, make sure that you again click that down arrow next to the new button and click into edit this template. Really important. So once again, we'll do that / linked view of database. And we are going to click into the tasks database because this is our task. So we want to pull our tasks into this. And then you can see it's displaying tasks, but these tasks aren't necessarily associated with this project. Oh, I'm also going to hide the database title. So what we actually want to do is we want to filter by project. So you can see this relation is now showing up on the tasks database. So filter by project. And then you want to click new project template. That's really important that you pick the name of the template from the list because then what that does is it applies this same association to any future projects that you create. So whatever that new project is that you create, whether you call it marketing or whatever, it's going to filter by whatever that new project is. So it's really important that you pick the template name when you're doing this. So now it's not showing those other. So you can see here, if I remove this, it shows those other tasks, but when I click this, it doesn't because those tasks are not associated with this project. I'm also going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to clean some stuff up. So I'm going to hide that property. So now I can only see the task, the checkbox, and the due date here. So now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, but I'm going to do it on the other side for the notes database. So I'm going to do / H3, all notes. I'm going to do my 3 dashes to make my divider, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do / linked view of database. And now I'm going to click on the notes. And then same thing that I did before. We'll do list view. I'm going to hide my database title and I'm going to filter my notes by project and click new project template, the name of my template. And now what that does is it will always filter, it'll always, for any new project you create, it will show the tasks that are only associated with that project and the notes that are only associated with that project. Do I want to do anything else here? No, I don't think I want to do anything else here. So that is it. That's all we're going to do here. You can add a ton more to this. Like you can see here, I've got resources pulled in. I've got all this other stuff. I've got a task inbox. I've got a project overview. You can do all sorts of other stuff here, but we're just going to keep it simple for now. So that is our project template. So now if we were to go back to this project that we created before, we can click on that project template and now that template gets applied. I've been noticing lately with Notion that for whatever reason, it does the spinning wheel of death for a while before it applies the template. So while it's doing that, let me go ahead and I'm going to actually associate some of these dummy tasks that we made before with this project so that we can see them pop up there. So let's go ahead and say new project. And if we go back to new project, look, that task is there now. That's the beauty of setting it up like this. So we've got our projects database all set up. So now let's go ahead and let's go back to the main page. Let's also get our areas set up as well. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click down the down arrow next to the new button. We're going to click new template. Let's call this new area. I'm going to use like a grid icon or something like that. Again, your icons don't really matter that much. But what I'm going to go ahead and do here, this one's going to be very simple. We're just going to do / linked view of database. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is show a linked view of the projects. I want to be able to easily see the projects that are associated with this area. So we'll go ahead and click projects. And then similar to what we've done before, we want to filter it by area this time because we are creating a new area template. So go ahead and click filter, and then you're going to click new area. And now it will only show the projects that are associated with this area. Now, I personally, again, don't really like the table view for this. So let's go ahead and let's change this to a gallery view. So 3-dot menu, once again, layout, which was the second guy down, and then click gallery. And since I already kind of know what I want the visual to look like, I'm going to turn off the database title, which I just toggled this guy off. And I'm going to change this to none, card preview to none, and I'm going to make them small. I also think I'm going to do one more thing before I exit this 3-dot menu, which again, this is similar to what we've done on previous ones. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to, oops, no, I don't want to filter. I'm going to click properties and I'm going to show the status and the target deadline. So that's really all I want to do in here. And I'm going to go ahead and call this area projects. Now, whenever I create a new area, it is going to display the projects that are associated with that area here. All right, so let me actually show you now. We can apply this to the marketing project. And let's say this new project is related to marketing. So then all you have to do with this new project, all I did is clicked over to this new project that we made, go into the area property and click marketing. And now that project shows up under that area. Again, that's what we're doing. We're linking everything together. We're basically making all of these databases talk to each other so you can very easily pull in information from the different databases. All right. So we've got all of this stuff set up now. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start building some of this other stuff inside of our second brain. So again, we aren't going to get to some of the aspects of this, but what we're going to go ahead and build now. Oh yeah, I forgot I had a duplicate tab of this. So we're going to go ahead and build now is we're going to start building some of these other databases here. So let's actually start with the biz roadmap because that's going to be pretty darn easy for us to build because this is really just off of the projects database. So let's go ahead and do this. So go back up to your menu and go ahead and do / page. And this is actually just going to be a page. So we're not going to create any templates here. We're just going to go ahead and type biz roadmap. So we're going to give it a name. Go ahead and add an icon. I like to add a map icon for this guy. So maybe you want a pin or a globe. I like the map guy. And what we're going to go ahead and do here is you can add this little thing at the top if you want, and I can show you how to do that. So this is just a call out and this is just text. So we could add this cute little guy here. If we want, actually, let's skip that because I don't think that's particularly important. But what we are going to do is we are going to bring in that projects database to build this guy. So we're going to do / linked view of database. And we are going to click the projects database here. Now, to display it the way, basically the idea behind this view is I want us to be able to see the projects that we have organized by quarter in this view. Let me actually show you what I mean inside of my biz roadmap, inside of my brain. So you can see on this one, oh, actually, I don't have it here. That's silly. That's how it's meant to be set up. I had to change some properties in mine, so I think that's why mine's broken. So let me go ahead and I am going to this is what I wanted. Except it's not displaying by quarters. What the heck? Now I have to like literally troubleshooting my Notion system, but I'm trying to show you what it would look like. So let me see if I can figure it out really, really quickly. So I want it to be filtering not by in progress. I want it to be filtering by this year checked. And I want it to group by quarter. Okay, this is what it's supposed to look like. That actually didn't take me too long to do at all. So this is showing the different projects that I had for this year, and it's showing them by quarter. So Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. That's basically what we're setting up here. So let me show you how to do this inside of your system. So we've got our projects database here. See, I really like this setup. It's super cool. So you can see your projects at a glance. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to create a new empty view. So go ahead and click this new empty view button. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to, let's call it by quarter. And then you're going to click board. This is a view that we haven't used yet. So go ahead and click board. And now it is immediately going to default. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. It's immediately going to default to showing you the status because that's the only thing we have right now that we can group by. I'm also going to hide the title because I hate it when the title shows. And actually, just for aesthetics too, let's make this full page. So let's go ahead and go up to the 3-dot menu in the top right corner. And let's toggle full width. So now hopefully we won't have this ugly bar for very long here. But to organize by quarter, we've got to do a couple different things. And the first thing that we're going to go ahead and do, let's go ahead and click into this new project here, is we're going to create a couple properties inside of this that are going to make it really, really easy for us to sort by quarter here. So the first property that we're going to go ahead and create is we are going to create what is called a this year property. And it's going to be a formula. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to click add property. And go ahead. You can either type in formula or you could just scroll down and click formula. And again, we're going to call this year, and I'm going to call it this year question mark because basically what this property is going to do is going to ask you whether or not this is a project that you scheduled to be completed this year. So to do this formula, what we're going to use is we're going to use what's an if then statement is what it's called. And so to use this statement, what you're going to do is you're going to start by typing if. And the first thing that you're going to type in here is basically the question that you are going to ask Notion about the property that you are using. So the question that we are going to ask Notion is the target deadline date this year? That's basically what we're going to ask Notion. And how we're going to do that is we're going to type year, and then we're going to type now. And what that does is it is basically saying, pull the year that it is right now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a double equal sign. And then we're going to type year. And then we're going to click the target deadline property. So I did year and then an open parenthesis. And then we want to click on target deadline. And then you want to close parenthesis. And so what this is asking Notion is this year equal to the year of the target deadline? And if it is, it's going to mark this as true, which is basically it's going to check a box. If it is not true, it is going to leave the box unchecked. So we have year, parenthesis, now, and you have to have a double parenthesis after the now. Close that parenthesis, double equal sign, and then year, open parenthesis, target deadline, close parenthesis, and then you want to just type comma, true, comma, false, and then you want to close the statement. So if the year of the target deadline is equal to now, you want to check the box. If it is not equal to now, you want to leave the box unchecked. And then you click done. And you can see what happens when we do this. You can see the property here. I said that the target deadline of this was November 30th of this year, so it checked the box. If I make it January, the box is now unchecked. That's what this is doing. So it is allowing us to filter by only the target deadlines that are this year. So that's the first property we're going to create. The second property that we are going to create is a quarter property. And what this is going to do is it is going to identify what quarter we have set the target deadline for. So we're going to do something very, very similar. And this is a much simpler formula, I promise. This is actually like a very simple formula. We're going to go ahead and add another property formula, call this quarter, and we can do quarter question mark. You can do whatever you want here, but call it something that you'll recognize. And then let's go in and edit this formula. And what this is going to do is we're going to basically identify what quarter it is, and we're going to label it with 1, 2, 3, or 4 to indicate what quarter this project is associated with. And how we're going to do that is we're going to say format date. Oops, if I can spell format correctly. So format date. And once you start typing these properties, they should pop up. And then inside of the format date property, we're going to say target deadline. We're going to once again call the target deadline property. And then you're going to do comma. And then in quotation marks, you're going to type Q. And what this is going to do is it is going to identify the quarter of the target deadline. So again, we click out of this. I just click the done button. It has identified that the quarter associated with this is 1 because January is in the Q1 of the year. If I change this back to November, the this year box gets checked and it changes it to Q4. Now, what this now allows us to do is allows us to sort by the projects that are not only this year, but it allows us to sort by what quarter those projects are happening. So now that I've created all these properties, and again, I'm going to actually recommend we hide these because again, these aren't ones you're going to want to see like as you're actively using your template. So I don't know if I explained how to do this because I've talked about a lot today, but you're going to click into this property and then you're going to do always hide. Once you go down to property visibility, you're going to go to always hide. And now those properties are hidden. We don't have to see them. So now what we're going to go ahead and do here is we're going to go back into our 3-dot menu next to our new button. We're going to click board. And now instead of group by being status, we are going to group by quarter. Now it's only showing one quarter because I don't have any other projects in any other quarters. But as we start to create more projects, like let's say we made this one, I'm just creating some examples here so you can see it. So now that one was due in January. So now that's popping up with the Q1. Let's go ahead and make this one due in May. Let's make this one due in July. So now you can see each of the 4 different quarters here. And I usually like to, when I'm organizing this, let's go back into the 3-dot menu here. Let's go to board again. Let's go to group by again. When I'm organizing this, I like to toggle hide empty groups because then it hides the ones that aren't assigned a quarter. I also like to do color columns just because it gives a little gradient behind the columns, which I find to be nice. So now you can see all of the projects organized by group. But again, as you start adding more projects, maybe you're somebody who plans super far in advance. Let's add a filter to this before we go. Let's filter by this year and make sure this year is checked. So now we are only seeing the projects that are due this year, not the projects that are due super far into the future or even the past projects. So that is the idea behind that filter. Let's also go ahead and go in, again, 3-dot menu, and I'm going to make a couple of our properties visible. So let's once again show the status and let's show the target deadline so that we can see all of that. So now you can see the status of the project. You can also change the status of the project, and you can see when that project was due. Awesome. Okay, so that page is literally done. Now that is a very, very functional snapshot view of all of the different projects by quarter for our nice little biz roadmap for ourselves. All right, so that's the biz roadmap. That one was nice and easy. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go in and we are going to build the client CRM, which is also going to be a relatively easy build as well. So we also might go a little bit over the hour and a half. I think some of the questions that were asked earlier, not that that was bad, took a little bit of time away from us being able to get to some of this stuff. Some of these are going to be very, very quick builds. So we'll probably only go maybe like 15 minutes past. But again, if you don't want to build all of this stuff, you just want to watch the replay and learn how to use it. Again, you can always just download the template once I send it out after this is over. So let's go ahead and let's do our client CRM. So once again, we're going to do it plus, we're going to do /page, and we're going to create a new page here. Now, for this client CRM, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to build the database at the bottom of the page, and I'm going to kind of build some different ways to organize the database at the top of the page. So I'm going to go ahead and do client CRM. And I didn't actually click empty page. I just clicked enter down from the title and it went straight to the empty page. So I'm going to start by creating some of my different headers. And this is how I set it up. It doesn't have to be how you set it up. But what I have at the top is I have like the important clients. Maybe they're clients that I'm actively talking to. Maybe they are kind of my VIP clients, whatever. I have an important section at the top. And then what I have below that is I have, and I'm going to go ahead and do another H3. So /H3, I have my active clients. And the difference between the important and active clients is these might be clients that are like speaking clients, but they're like 6 months out in the future. And they're not ones that I'm currently like working with, but they are clients on my roster. They're just ones that I'm working with in the future. That's kind of how I organize it. And then we'll go ahead and do another space here. We'll do /H3 once again. And I'm going to go ahead and do all clients down here. And I'll do another divider. So now down at the bottom here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create our actual CRM. We're going to actually create our client database here. And how we're going to do that, very similar to how we've done like all of the other ones. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do /. And actually in this case, we're going to do /, let's do table. And we'll make a table of our different clients. Now, you don't want to click this top one. What this top one is actually a simple table, but we can't format that. So we don't want the top table. When we do / table, you want table view. And then we're going to go ahead and click new database once again. And let's call this our CRM. And then once again, I'm going to do, just for the sake of me staying organized, I'm going to do SB. All right, I'm going to delete all of these properties once again. And I'm going to go into just to kind of save us some time on this one, I'm going to build the template as I create the property. So go ahead and click next to that new button and go new template. And you just call this new client. And we're going to build the client template as I create the properties for the client. So the properties for the client, the ones that I think are the most important properties to have are actually, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start by doing status. So I'm going to go ahead and add property status. And for these, I actually do like to change the name. I like to change the to-do one to lead. I like to change the in progress one to prospect. And I'm doing that by just clicking next to it. And I like to change the done one to 1. So there's our status of our client. What we could also do here is we can add an email property, because you're probably going to need to contact your client. We can also add a phone property. And then let's say from there, we just say we use a select tool. Let's actually do a multi-select tool. The difference between a select tool and a multi-select tool is for select, you can only pick one. For a multi-select, you can pick multiple. So let's do a multi-select and we'll just say offering type. Maybe you have multiple different services that you offer and you might want to be able to organize clients by that. And then the last thing that we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to link this to our task database. So we're going to do add property and do a relation. And then you want to click your tasks database. And now, same thing we did before. We'll call it tasks. We'll toggle on the show on tasks and we'll call this client add relation. I'm going to go ahead and actually hide this property. So now these are probably the core properties that you need, but to do some of the other organized things that I have in this view, we're going to add a couple more. I'm going to go ahead and add a checkbox, and this is going to be my important property. This is going to be my way to indicate this is a like really, really urgent high level client. And I'm going to go ahead and do like an exclamation point to indicate that this is an important client. And then I'm going to add another property, another checkbox property. And I'm going to call this my archive property. This is the one that I check when I'm done working with a client. Maybe they are a speaking client that I'm done working with, or maybe they're a one-on-one coaching client that has graduated. So those are all of the properties I'm going to create. This is probably the one that has the most properties associated with it. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do from here is just make a quick little kind of organized place where I can jot down notes and keep track of things about this client. So let's go ahead and do /H3 to give ourselves some headers. Let's call this background information, because inevitably, if you connect with a lead or a prospect in your business, you're going to have some background information you're going to gather. Let's also do another header. So /H3, history of interactions. I like to keep track of the interactions I have with the clients. And maybe like I'll say at today, um, connected on Instagram. That might be the kind of stuff I would keep track of here. Let's do another space, and then let's do /H3, action items. And this is where we're going to connect it to our task database. So I'll do a divider, so triple dash 123, and then I'm going to link this to my task database. So /linked and click link view of database. I'm going to get my task database once again. And then just like we've done for some of the other ones, now we are going to filter this by client. And we're going to use this new client template. So now any tasks that we create will be associated with whatever client this is. I'm also going to just clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to hide the database title, and I'm going to hide client and hide project. So now it's nice and clean. So this is generally what I do when I have any new clients is I have these different properties, and this is how I keep track of information for them. So that's a really clean, simple CRM that you can use to keep yourself organized in your business. So now we've got this guy down here. So let's go ahead and let's rename this CRM, and we'll just call this all clients. And then let's go ahead and also create a view. I'm just going to make a new view. Oh, and let's also make this full page so that we don't have this stupid little bar here. So top three corner or dots in at the top corner. I can't talk. And then toggle over to full width. And now we can see just about everything. Let's actually also go ahead and hide this task guy from the view. So just click on the header for it and then say hide from view. And now we can see everything we might need to. Another way you can clean up the properties that you are viewing is by going into the three dot menu, clicking on properties, and then you just click the little eyeball to not show certain properties. So I don't really want to show, actually, let's show the archive and the important, but let's make them smaller. So like if we have a new client here, let's make the important really small. Let's make the archive really small. And then we can see all of the other stuff that we need to know about this client. Maybe we want to see their status here. So you can reorganize this however you see fit. So the next thing though that I want to do is I want to create a view where we can see all of my clients organized by their status. So let's go ahead and click the plus sign, and let's type by status. And then let's click a board view, and you can see it automatically defaults to status. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to toggle off the show database title, and I'm going to make the card size small because again, those are my preferences. You can kind of figure out your preferences as you go. And I personally like this to be my kind of first view that I see. So there you go. That's our CRM. We're going to go ahead and add a couple other views here. So let's go ahead and let's take this all clients view. And one of the other cool things that you can do inside of Notion, if you don't want to recreate a view every single time, is you can copy a link to a view and then you can customize it wherever the new place is that you're viewing it. So let me show you what I mean. If we go into this all clients view, I can go in here, this three dot menu, and I can say copy links to view. And then I can take that link and I can paste it here, and I can create a linked view of the database. There you go. You can kind of see what I'm getting at here. And then what this does, now what I can do from here is I can filter by all of the clients. So I can filter by status, and I can filter by all of the clients that are in progress. So now this is only going to show me my clients that are in progress. Now, when I do this particular view, this my active clients view, what I like to do is I like to make this a gallery view. So I'm going to go ahead and go into layout, and I'm going to make this a gallery view. And once again, I'm going to make it none, and I'm going to make the card size small. So that's kind of what that looked like. I would show you what this looks like in my system, but again, just for privacy purposes, I'm not going to, so that my clients' names are kept confidential. And so then our last thing that we're going to go ahead and do for our important clients is I'm going to copy the link to the view I just made here. So in this active clients view, I'm going to click copy link to view. Once again, I'm going to paste it underneath where it says important. And here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my filter. I'm going to remove the filter that I created on the other view. And I'm going to add a filter that important is checked. And now this is only going to show me the clients that I have designated as important. So that's a CRM that you can go ahead and build. And maybe we use like a people icon here. And then let's go ahead and go on to the next one. So that's it for the CRM. We've got everything we need for the CRM now. It is good to go. It is good for you to start adding people into it. I'm gonna go ahead and put a note in here that I have for my other one. I'm just gonna copy it in. You can set up a Zapier integration from your lead collection source, whatever that source might be, so that it automatically sends new leads into your system. That is something that I built into mine, and that is an automation that is kind of a next level of Notion that I highly recommend checking out if that is something that you feel like would be helpful for you. Okay, so the next thing we're going to go ahead and build is we are going to build our content creation hub. And I tried to make this very, very, very simple. And I'm just going to copy some of this stuff over because this is just stuff that I use to kind of keep myself organized. Um, so in our content creation hub, let's go ahead and go back to our menu that we've been building. Let's go ahead and add that new page one more time, /page. And now we're going to call this content creation hub. Let's go ahead and do like a thumbs up or something like that. No, Instagram likes and all that jazz. And now inside of this, we're going to go to empty page and we're going to do 2 columns once again. And I'm going to make these columns full width like I have in the other one. In this first column, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to add some of this text. And again, just for the sake of ease, I'm going to copy this text over because this is just some stuff that I use to keep myself organized when I'm doing my content creation. I think it's good stuff to think about. So I just have my content strategy, who is my content for, what are my content pillars, my main platforms, my secondary platforms, and my general like posting schedule. So that is not necessary if you don't want it, but that's kind of something that I always keep next to my content calendar. But what we're going to actually build right now, we're going to build in the second column here, and we are going to create this calendar view as well as a status view for keeping track of our different content in our business for your content marketing. So this is going to be, again, a quick one to build. So let's go ahead and let's do /. And this time we're going to go ahead and do /calendar view. And then we're going to do new database once again. And let's just call this our content calendar. So similar to what I did before, I'm going to go ahead and add the properties in the same menu where I create the template. So let me go ahead and I'm going to click new template. And we're going to go ahead and call this new content. And I'm just going to use the little thumbs up guy again, just for the sake of ease and simplicity. Now you can see it already has a date property in here and it's already got tag property in here. So we're actually going to keep these properties. We're going to use them for some of our content calendar properties here. So the very, very first property, the date property, all I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this and I'm going to call this publication date. And all I did to rename it is I just clicked it a couple times. So if you click it once and then you go down to rename, then you can change the name. So we're going to call that the publication date. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change this tag property to my social platforms. I'm going to be able to tag the content with the different social platforms it's going to be on. So I'll click it, rename, call it social platforms. And like this could be like your LinkedIn, your YouTube, your Instagram, whatever social platforms you use for your business, that's what that can be. And then we're going to add 2 more properties. Again, this is going to be a nice, easy one. We're going to add a status property. And similarly to what I did on the CRM, we're going to change these a little. So we're going to change the to-do one. We're going to click it and we're going to call it idea. We're going to change the in progress one. Actually, we can leave the in progress one. We'll change the completed one to, honestly, you could leave it as done. I like to just say complete, but that's just a personal preference. So status, and then the very last one we're going to do, similar to what we did in our client CRM, is we are going to connect it to our task database. And again, this just makes everything sync together. So you don't have to go to 80 bajillion different places to keep track of tasks. So we're going to go to a relation property. And then once again, we are going to select our tasks database. We'll call this tasks. Show on tasks is going to get toggled on. And then we'll name this content. There we go. And once again, I would recommend clicking this and going down to property visibility and saying always hide so that things don't get clogged. So then the last thing that we're going to go ahead and do in here before we kind of start to organize these different we'll create another view for this and then we'll move on to the next one. The next thing that I go ahead and do here is I create 2 columns in this template. The first column, I go ahead and I call my content idea. And that's where I can kind of brainstorm what I want this piece of content to be. And then the second view is my tasks, my to-dos that are related to me creating this piece of content. So I'm going to go ahead and resize these slightly. And here we are going to create, once again, a linked database. So this is you can see a very common feature that we use inside of Notion. So I'm going to do /linked. And then once again, I'm going to select my tasks. And then I'm going to filter by content, new content. And now it is only going to show the tasks that are related to this piece of content. So I'll hide my database title, and there we go. I'm going to go ahead and clean up the properties that we're seeing because right now it's showing all of the properties. So if we click into the properties menu, we can go ahead and hide all of the ones that we don't want to see. There we go. So then if this goes full page, we can resize it, and there we go. Now we have a template for our new pieces of content. So if I go ahead and click back, I'm going to click out of this. The last thing that I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'm going to hide the title on this page, and I am going to set this template as default so that anytime I create a new piece of content, that template gets applied. So then the last thing that we need to do here, or it's not even a need, but I find it can be a very, very helpful thing to do, is I'm going to create a second view where I can see the pieces of content by status. So I can easily see the things that are ideas, the things that are in progress, and the things that have been completed. So let's go ahead and click the plus arrow right next to calendar view. And let's do board. And you can see it is already sorting them exactly how we want. So we can just call this guy by status. Go ahead and hide the database calendar. And now that view is good to go. So that was a pretty easy one for us to build. And now what this is ultimately going to look like, you guys have seen mine before, but I'll go ahead and show you. This is ultimately what this is going to start to look like once you start to populate it with content. All right. So now we've only got a couple more things that we're going to go ahead and build here. The next one is the quick capture page. And what this guy looks like is it is just basically a to-do and a note place where you can very, very easily jot things down. I actually think you could also build this into your home page, but it just kind of depends on preference. So let's go ahead and we'll create a new page once again, /page. And actually, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to have you build the quick capture page how I have mine because I have tasks, notes, and I have content ideas. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and call it quick capture. I like to add a lightning bolt. Light, there we go. Just to indicate this is for fast stuff. And then what we're going to go ahead and do here is, yeah, we don't need all of this excess. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to do 2 columns. So /2 column, make them a little bit wider. And here we're going to go ahead and add our tasks. So let's do /linked view of database tasks. And here what we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to hide the title once again. And I'm going to go ahead and rename this, and I'm going to call this task inbox. I'm going to use like a little like in tray kind of thing. Perfect. And what I'm going to do, this is the really important part of a quick capture system, is you want to make sure it doesn't get clogged with tasks. This is a place for you to write down tasks on the fly, but once you write them down, after the day is done, you don't really want them to be, clogging up your quick capture page. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually filter. And I'm realizing we don't have the property we need. So we've got to create the property first. So let's go into properties. Let's add a new property. And what we're going to add is we're going to add a created time. Just type created and then click created time. And then once we've got that, we don't need anything else. Let's maybe hide it from the view so it doesn't clog up our view. And then now we are going to filter by created time, and you want the created time to be today. So it's only showing you the tasks that were created on this day. Now, I did create these tasks today, so it's showing me a couple tasks right now. I'm going to go ahead and clean up the properties once again so I can only see the properties that I care about. And honestly, in this view, I don't even really care about the date. I just care about the tasks. So now this is only just showing you the tasks that you created today. So like you can see in mine, these are the tasks that I created today. Then what we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to go ahead and do the same thing for our notes. So let's do /linked view of database. Let's click notes. Let's do list view. And let's call this the notes inbox. Do that little tray guy again. And once again, let's filter these by where the created date is today. And we haven't created any notes today. So this one's nice and clean. And so then the last thing I would recommend doing down here is go ahead and do a content inbox. So a place where you can capture content ideas. So let's do / linked view of database. And here we're going to go ahead and do the content calendar. I think this is the one I want. Yeah. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to do a new view, and let's just do like the content ideas. And let's give it an idea, like a little light bulb. And then let's just do this as a table. Let's toggle off show database title. And let's also maybe get rid of some of these properties. So let's get rid of the task property. We'll hide that. The status property we're going to hide, but what that does remind me of is we want to filter by status and then toggle to idea. And what this is going to do is this is going to make it that everything that gets added to this page is going to automatically be tagged with ideas, because these are all the new ideas that you are coming up with. So that's why we want to tag them idea. And then the other thing we want to do is and again, I'm realizing we don't have the property here. So let's go ahead once again and let's go into properties. And let's add this new property. And we're going to do the created time once again. I like to sort by created time on the quick capture page because it's a really reliable way to sort. And then let's do hide and view. And we want to filter where the created time, let's for this one say the created time is relative to today, this week. Because you're probably not going to be generating as many content ideas. So this is probably a good way to do it. And now you can give your content idea and you can indicate what social platform it's for. So this is the quick capture page. This is just a place for you to jot down ideas. That's the point of it. Okay. So that's the quick capture page. That one was super easy. And then next, let's go ahead and do the Knowledge Hub, which is also going to be a super easy page. So we'll go ahead and add our new page / page. Call it Knowledge Hub. And now for this one, let's go ahead and do a table because this is going to be a database. And let's do new database. And here, what we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to just create a handful of properties as a way to help us keep our content that we're consuming organized. So let's go ahead. We've got the name, we've got the tags. I'm going to rename this to type. And when I say type, it's going to be stuff like maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's a book, maybe it's an article, maybe it is an online course. These are the different types of content you might be consuming. Let me go ahead and close these guys out. And then the last thing we're going to go ahead and do is you're going to add a status property to say whether or not this is something that you've completed or not completed. And that's really it. That's really the gist of this Knowledge Hub. And to kind of see how I use mine is a little bit more detailed, but again, we're trying to keep things kind of bare bones and simple to start with. But my library, you can see I take notes, I put in screenshots of stuff. These are actually all the things that are not started. But you can see that I pull in like stuff from the actual book just so I can kind of remember what it is that I consumed. That's kind of how I use my Knowledge Hub. All right, and let's also add like a little book guy here to keep with the aesthetics we're going for. So you can see we did create a lot today. We only have one more thing that I was going to actually have us create today, and that is the ideal week. So let's go ahead and do / page. Now we're going to call this my ideal week. I think this is a great thing for business owners to have because then they can kind of create a vision for what they want their ideal week to look like and then actually like make sure they're keeping that ideal week top of mind. So let's go ahead and let's add a calendar. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to create a board view. So we'll go ahead and click more and then we'll click board. We'll create new database. And when you create a board view, it automatically creates something that it can sort by. So in this case, it created a status property. I'm going to go ahead and delete these guys. And what I'm going to do instead of a status property, oh, it also created an assign thing. Let's delete this. We don't want assign. And we don't want status. Really, we don't hardly need any properties in here. The only thing that we do need is I'm going to create a day of the week property. It is a select property because you only want to be able to choose one day of the week. But let's go ahead and just list out the days of the week and you're going to start to see how this thing is going to come together. So Monday, Tuesday. Oh, I should have done them in reverse order, but whatever. Wednesday. Am I the only person who still says Wednesday when I spell Wednesday? Because I totally do. If I am not the only person, please drop that in the chat because I hope I'm not. I literally sound out Wednesday when I spell it. So do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then you can start to fill in what you're going to be, kind of what your ideal schedule is going to look like. What I would recommend doing here, like how I would probably recommend getting started, is create a block. And let's go ahead and we'll give it a little icon. I'll give it like a little sparkle icon or something. And what I'm going to go ahead and call it is on this day. And then I'm going to have a text property. And what in this text property, I'm basically going to give a description of what I'm going to do on this day. And I might give my days like a theme, like maybe Monday is the planning and writing day. And I want to be able to see this on this little block because we want this ideal week to be a quick view page. So I'm going to go ahead and go into properties and I'm going to toggle description on. So now I can see that my theme on this day is to do planning and writing. Now, this is my trick with this. Let's go ahead and just duplicate this block and now drag it over to Tuesday. And then we just click in here and say, okay, maybe on Tuesday, we're working on projects. Now let's duplicate this block again. Let's say, wait, why is Thursday there? Let's change the order on these. Let's say on Wednesday, our theme is calls and learning. So we are spending our time on client calls and on doing professional development. Maybe on Thursday, let's go ahead and duplicate this again. Our theme is clients and content. And then maybe on Friday, our theme is to do growth and wrap up for the week. So now we're kind of starting to theme our days, and then you can go from there. You can start to actually build in what your ideal week looks like. And let me actually show you what mine looks like so you can get a feel for what this could eventually look like. So I've kind of got a roughed out schedule of ideally what I want my week to look like. And I did that by using this little layout here. Just to kind of add some final little fun aesthetics here, let's go into where it says group and let's hide empty columns and let's toggle the color columns to on. Look how pretty that looks. It adds that little gradient behind it. So there we go. So that is literally, it took a little over the time I wanted it to, but that is literally a second brain that you could start using right now to organize your projects, your different content, your tasks, and it is all synced together. We have set it up so it literally all communicates with each other. And that was the whole goal of this. I know we've been going for almost 2 hours, so I know it took a chunk of time, but thank you for hanging in there with me because what you've done now is you've given yourself a simple custom second brain that you can start using to build your business. You can organize it in any way you want. You can add in these different pieces. I'll be sending all of that out to you after this is posted and ready to go. But other than that, I just have one other thing that I wanted to go ahead and share with you as we go ahead and wrap this up for today. And that is really just kind of some little final words about the second. And again, if there's ways I can support you moving forward, but the final thing that I want to say is when it comes to building a second brain, it is important to play the long game. Start with the most important parts of your second brain and your life OS first. That is why when we built this, we kept it very bare bones. Excuse me. We kept it very bare bones. And I really gave you the main things you need. You need projects, you need tasks, you need a CRM, you need content management, and that's kind of it. Those are the things that you need. There might be other things you might want to add in the future, like client portals or client resource libraries. That is awesome. And that is very aspirational. And I love that. But just add that as a future to do. Again, you can create a project inside of your second brain that is everything you want to do to create your Notion, Life OS, and your second brain. That is awesome. Jot those ideas down, but don't feel like you have to implement them now to get the benefits from your second brain. So, just to remind you, we need sustainability in our businesses in all of these different places our mindsets, our schedules, our offers, our marketing, our systems, and our self care. We focused on systems today, but systems are really the culmination of all of these other things. So, if you've never thought about creating a sustainable schedule or sustainable offers or sustainable marketing, apparently my throat's getting tired. These are probably some things that you should be thinking about. These are probably some things that you should be focusing on. And these are some things that I can't help you with. If that's something you're looking for. So again, from here, If you do need further support, my throat is sorry, it's like boycotting me right now and mutinying against me. But if you do need future support, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, I am moving into the online course space. So you can head to coachellen.com to learn more about my courses. This is such bad timing to learn more about my courses, to be notified when pre-sales and founder pricing happens, etc. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap up since my voice is mutinying against me. I do have some other ways of working with me. One-on-one coaching. I sell Notion templates. I have Notion VIP days. I do Notion support audits. And really, thank you so much for being here. Apparently, it is time to wrap up because my voice is like, nope, we are done. But if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can find me at Coach Ellen on Instagram. You can comment below this video. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or at my website at coachellen.com. But thank you again so much for being here. I appreciate you all kind of coming on this adventure with me. This is my first YouTube live stream, and it was a freaking doozy. It was 2 hours long. So thank you again for being here. And I will see you next time. Bye.